Mustafa Sahin, M.D., Ph.D., Boston Children's Hospital, Harvard Medical School, sits in an office and speaks into the camera.
I feel blessed to be a physician scientist, a translational researcher in the field of neurodevelopmental disorders at this point in scientific history. Over the last several decades, we've identified dozens and hundreds of genes associated with neurological disorders. And we now have the tools for the first time to be able to make an impact, a true impact in the clinic, in the care of those patients.
Logo for the National Center for Advancing Translational Sciences. Hashtag I am Translational Science. Filmed October 2020.
My name is Mustafa Sahin. I'm a child neurologist at Boston Children's Hospital and Harvard Medical School. My lab works on neurodevelopmental disorders, especially those with a genetic basis.
Our research.
I have been working on neurodevelopmental disorders, especially rare genetic disorders that are associated with intellectual disability and autism for the past 2 decades. And over the last 20 years, the way we take care of these patients has changed dramatically thanks to advances in translational research. We now have FDA-approved drugs for epilepsy, for brain tumors, for kidney tumors for these patients. My hope for the future is that we'll be able to develop better tools to be able to identify improvements in brain function, in behavioral outcome of these patients. We refer to these tools in several cases as biomarkers. These are potentially more objective, more sensitive ways of measuring improvement in various aspects of brain function and development. So we are hoping that by using biomarkers, we may be able to accelerate research in clinical aspects of neurodevelopmental disorders.
Lab life.
When the COVID pandemic started in March of this year, our lab, our basic science lab, essentially came to a halt. We also obviously had to deal with how do we do clinical research in a safe way for our participants. We were actually in the midst of a clinical trial, and we informed our participants that they could withdraw from the research if they did not feel safe. Remarkably, none of the families withdrew from the research. And despite some delays, we were actually able to finish that clinical trial in September of this year. So I'm quite proud of the fact that we were able to get through COVID for that particular trial safely and effectively.
Translational science.
Translation, in my mind, is bringing findings from the basic science labs to the clinic in order to improve the lives of individuals affected with the disorders. One example in this field that has been particularly inspirational has been the progress in a rare disease called spinal muscular atrophy. This is a disorder that affected babies, and the babies born with this disorder would have muscle weakness, respiratory problems, and would die by around age 2. But due to advances in translational research, there are now 3 FDA-approved treatments for these babies. And with these treatments, they can now sit independently, they can breathe without a ventilator. Many of them can take steps and walk and reaching their milestones, which is incredible for a child neurologist to see. So we're hoping what happened in spinal muscular atrophy will be a guide for many other neurological and neurodevelopmental disorders.
Logo for the National Center for Advancing Translational Sciences. Hashtag I am Translational Science.